NIA team was attacked in Bengal's Bhupatinagar. This is a National Investigative Agency team. This is on Saturday after they picked up two workers associated to the TMC. Now, why were they picked up? They were picked up in connection with an investigation that is actually a year and a half old, dating back to December 3rd, 2022. Now, we'll bring you the context of what happened, because as those NIA officials were on the ground, they say they were attacked. They received minor injuries after their vehicle was allegedly pelted with stones. Now, a war of words has erupted after that's taken place between the BJP and the TMC. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee hitting out at the BJP and saying that the National Investigative Agency and other central agencies are in cahoots with the centre. This is something, remember, that we've heard a number of other opposition party leaders say. Now, how is the BJP responding? Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while addressing a rally in West Bengal, ripped into the TMC and accused the party of attacking central agencies in West Bengal. So you can see that back and forth taking place. Remember, West Bengal brings 42 seats to the table. It's the third largest state in terms of seats. That's why we're seeing it in such focus just a few days before these elections. And amid this blame game between the TMC and the BJP, the big question remains. The question is, where does the buck stop? And who's going to take responsibility for these attacks? This is the second in just a few months. Who is accountable to the people of West Bengal?
NIA আরেকদিকে সিবিআই বিজেপির ভাই ভাই আরেকদিকে ইডি আরেকদিকে ইনকাম ট্যাক্স বিজেপির টাকা তোলার বক্স
टीएमसी चाहती है भ्रष्टाचारी नेताओं को आतंक का खुला लाइसेंस मिले, इसलिए जब केंद्र की जांच एजेंसियां आती है तो टीएमसी उन पर हमले करती है।
एक्चुअली क्या है ना कि स्टेट पुलिस ये सारे घटनाओं को अंजाम देती है। स्टेट पुलिस क्रिमिनल को ऑर्गेनाइज करती है, उनको सेफ पैसेज देती है।
दिस एंटायर एपिसोड इज कंस्ट्रक्टेड बाय NIA, both NIA and BJP.
Okay, let's introduce to you our guests for the day today. We have Dr. Shweta. She's a spokesperson for the Bengal BJP. Riju Datta joining us on the phone today, a spokesperson for the Trinamool Congress. And Vikram Singh, a former DGP. Sir, thank you for joining us. Ma'am, thank you for joining us this evening. All right, let's start our debate this evening. First, I'm going to go over to the former DGP, Vikram Singh. Sir, all that's gone on in West Bengal yesterday and the similarities that many are saying exist between what took place yesterday and the incident in January. Sir, how do you see this?
I see this as extremely unfortunate and a brazen non-cooperation with the investigation and the investigation teams. What happened in Sandesh Khali was repeated in East Midnapore, and there was issued notices which the accused refused to comply with. What option did the NIA have? And to say that they came at midnight, 4:30 a.m. is not midnight, sorry. And they did report to the local police also. And what more did you expect? All the protocols and instructions were complied with very faithfully, but there seems to be a pattern. Attack NIA, attack ED, attack CBI, and then submit them into terror. This is not going to work, and this is being done on court's orders. If you have any reservations, political rhetoric and wild allegations will not do any good to you. Please go to the court if you have any credible evidence, which you will refuse to go, and level allegations that are blatantly laughable and ridiculous. Therefore, this business of BJP and TMC will not work in sober investigation. Investigation is investigation and done on the basis of facts and evidence. If you find fault with the investigation and the notices, please go to court and seek relief. We salute our judiciary because they are impartial.
Okay. Sir, thank you for the concise response. Sir, I'm going to keep coming back to you through the debate. We'll keep going over to both of our political panelists. I'll keep coming back to you, looping back the point. Let's go over to Riju Datta from the Trinamool Congress. Mr. Datta, I want to start with bringing up for our audiences what it is that the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee had to say. She said it was the NIA that attacked and not the women. At midnight, NIA officials are barging into the homes of people. Now, as Mr. Singh has just established for our audiences, and the point he's making is accurate. Our reporters are saying the same. The incident didn't take place at midnight. Not only that, it seems as if local police was asked. Why then, Mr. Datta, is the TMC claiming that proper law and order procedures were not followed yesterday?
Thank you. I have heard the respected ex-DGP.
Okay, we'll try to re-establish that connection with Riju Datta. We have been having some trouble establishing that connection over the last few minutes too. Mr. Datta, we'll have our team get in contact with you to establish a more stable, secure connection. Let's go over till then to Dr. Shatarupa. She's with us right now. Ma'am, until we're able to tell you some of the questions that we've seen the TMC direct over the last few hours. So these are just statements that the TMC has made over the last few hours, Mamata Banerjee has made over the last few hours. I'm going to come to you, ask you for your response until we can get the TMC with us also, so that this is a balanced discussion. So ma'am, one of the key arguments we're hearing the TMC make again and again is they're saying that this is a 1.5-year-old case. This incident dates back to December 3rd, 2022. If this wasn't election related, why couldn't this investigation have taken place in the weeks after? They allege that it's the BJP's attempt to show the people of West Bengal that they also have an eye on what's happening. That's why they're sending central agencies to the ground. Ma'am, how would the BJP respond to this?
Yeah, good evening to you, and especially the former DGP summed it up so beautifully. Vikramji, thank you so much for that. I was almost expecting when Riju had begun to respond, he would say that we have also managed the former DGP. They are constantly now saying, this is the new word that they're using, that we have managed the High Court, we have managed all the central agencies, we've kind of bought them. In fact, Riju Datta, in some channel, he was with me, or I think elsewhere, I don't remember. He said that BJP is playing IPL in election time, where the four major players are these four central agencies. I mean, this is the kind of bizarre level that these people get discussions into. So it's very difficult to even try to respond to this kind of ridiculous comments. All I can say is, yes, you have very correctly pointed out, NIA has been called off by the court after 1.5 years of a bomb blast in this particular place, Bhupatinagar, where this bomb blast was so large that their workers, I mean, Trinamool, I think a block president or some booth level president's house went up in flames. There's no sign of either this deceased body. The body is in shambles. I mean, you can't even see the body. It's in pieces. And the house is no longer there. But the likes of Riju and the comments from Trinamool is that, it was just a firecracker. So now, if it was a firecracker or if it was a nuclear bomb, 1.5 years the state police should have gone and found out why their people have died in a bomb blast created by them. And what is more significant is that this particular bomb blast happened on a day and some few 50 meters away from where their beloved General Secretary was attending a public meeting.
Okay.
Abhishek was there in the vicinity. So there, they should have been more concerned. Their state police should have swung into action, which they didn't. Now, court waited. Court was not satisfied with the way these things were going. So now court has sent NIA. Now, yes, of course, I mean, I'm sure Vikramji will agree with me. The NIA should have asked permission from whoever they were going to arrest, that, hello, can we come and arrest you at 4 a.m. in the morning? Because 4 a.m. likes of Riju Datta and the spokespersons of Trinamool don't wake up.
Okay.
So in their blurry eye, they think it's midnight.
Dr. Shatarupa, just stay with me. Let me just tell our audiences there are actually two aspects to tonight's discussion. One is the incident that has just taken place on Saturday, and we'll discuss that in deep detail. The other aspect is what the opposition is saying, which is that central agencies are being misused by the BJP. We'll get to that, and I'm only pre-phasing that because I want to go over to Riju Datta and first discuss. Mr. Datta, I just want to first discuss with you what happened on Saturday. You were answering, we lost our connection with you.
Yeah.
Tell our audiences, sir. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I'll be very brief and precise. There is no We have nothing against central agencies investigating anything in Bengal. But what we are trying to say is, we have brought out a chronology. Gentleman is here. I hope I can answer this question. The NIA informed the local police that they will be conducting a raid at 6 in the morning, and they barged into some house, and there was a spontaneous reaction. Unfortunate, but spontaneous reaction. But what we are actually saying is that after the court ordered the probe on 26th of March, and the All India Trinamool Congress has showed all the proof that not by filing a deputation mail to the NIA or by going and meeting NIA officers in their office, BJP leader Jitendra Tiwari has met SP rank NIA officer Dhanram Singh at his personal residence, flat number J066 at 6:30 p.m. with a large white parcel. They had a meeting for 52 minutes and he left empty-handed. We presume it had huge amounts of cash. If BJP differs or NIA differs, we will release the CCTV footage. Secondly, about the court of law that Honorable DG, former DGP said, we are moving to Supreme Court regarding this. We have already filed a complaint with the Election Commission that when you can change our DGP twice in 24 hours, remove Dhanram Singh from Bengal immediately. Because we are categorically saying BJP is in nexus with this NIA officer, not all, is this particular NIA officer. And after the meeting on 26th March, NIA has issued fresh summons to exclusive TMC leaders, not only in this case, but all over West Bengal. That is what we are trying to say, that BJP is ashamed. They are so shameless. They are using central agencies as their own cadres and certain officers as their own cadres to get political dividends and target Trinamool leaders in West Bengal when MCC is already applicable. That is what we are saying. MCC, let me just finish. The NIA has already given a rebuttal. That is in public domain.
Right.
They have given point by point rebuttal that it was done technically and maintaining all the terms and conditions of law and order. Very well. We have no issues against that. Why have they not mentioned a single word against this grave allegation of corruption that we have raised against an SP rank officer of NIA?
Okay.
Why is there none on it?
Sir,
that is what we are saying.
let me just ask you a follow-up question, then we'll go to the BJP and to the DGP who's with us right now. Sir, there's a phrase called shifting the goalpost, right? We started our show by talking about the incident that happened on Saturday. The Trinamool Congress, Mamta Banerjee, in the comments we're highlighting on the show, she had a problem with that too. That's number one. Number two, what has emerged in the last few hours is what you're talking about, which is the aspect where you're saying that a very, very senior officer in the NIA has taken, according to you, bribes, and you're saying CCTV visuals of that exists. That's the second aspect. Let's do aspect by aspect. So the first aspect here, where Mamta Banerjee earlier in the day today, yesterday also, said if the NIA, she's literally made a statement where she said it was the NIA that attacked and not the women at midnight. NIA officers are barging in. So those are just the wrong facts to be telling the public, aren't they?
No, one second.
Go ahead.
I am also categorically telling you on your show for your viewers that when the NIA has informed the local authorities that they will conduct a raid at 6 a.m. in the morning, all help was provided to them. Without anyone's notice, they barged in a distant village at 4 o'clock in the morning with 2 Scorpios and just grabbed 2 people from their homes. It was a spontaneous reaction of the villagers. The women and the children are sleeping in their home. They walked in, they broke the door, grabbed 2 people, got them in the car, and when the local police came to their aid, because there was stone pelting, they said, we have already arrested these 2 people.
Okay, Mr.
So
Datta.
We are saying saying
Mr. Datta, I
that
understood
if
your
you
point.
attack the villagers, there will be a
We understood your
consequence.
point.
What to do?
One second, sir. We understood your point. Let's go over right now to the former DGP. There's a reason we wanted to have law officials with us on the show today. Mr. Singh, I want to understand everything that we're hearing from Mr. Datta. I don't want to say this is the TMC. This is what the TMC is saying. Their version is that, look, it didn't happen at the time you promised. And as you saw, he said it's a distant village, middle of the night. These are all factors that lead up to an attack taking place. Mr. Singh, I want to ask you, this is obviously in no way the first time where a central agency has been sent to a distant village. I just want to ask you, what are the procedures that are already put in place for a situation like that? Is there a procedure to avoid an incident like this happening? How does the TMC answer stand in front of you?
Number one, this is happening at a repeated frequency, which was best avoided. Sandesh Khali to begin with, and then East Midnapore. The procedure and the SOP is that you inform the local police, which they did. The only debate now is whether it was midnight, whether it was 4:30 or 6 a.m. Now, the standard operating procedure is that the request is also jotted down and made a note of in the Thana General Diary, and therefore it is a matter of record that whether it was 6 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. is not a matter of conjecture. It is a matter that can always be examined. Mr. Riju Datta has raised very serious allegations, and let me tell you, officers who go to the CBI, ED and also the NIA are the best of the best. Mediocres have no place in these organizations. And I would rather not like to believe that any such officer with outstanding credentials would like to forsake his integrity, reputation and career. For what? For nothing. And therefore, if these allegations there, I can assure Mr. Datta that these allegations will be inquired on the topmost priority by the NIA top bosses, and the truth will come out in 24 hours and not 25 hours. Therefore, to say that the officer was compromised because he accepted bribes, please, my advice to Mr. Datta would be to send an application to the director and NIA, and if there is even an element of truth in that officer, his career is finished and his career is over. But going to the fact that the point of debate now is that they went at the rather early hours and before the time. There has to be an element of secrecy in any such operations. This is a sensitive operation. Nobody could disclose the exact time. The general time is given because it is like almost compromising the question paper of a sensitive examination by disclosing that I go at this point of time. Therefore, a general time is given, and then within that area, within that loop, the raiding party goes and gets those who are accused and those who are wanted by the law enforcement agencies. Because disclosing everything would mean that you compromise the operation and the culprits will never come in hand. This is the precaution that we've always taken.
Okay, Mr. Datta, I'll come back to you in a second. I'm sure you want to respond, but I do want to go over to the BJP spokesperson who's with us right now. Also, Dr. Shatarupa, I want to ask you the very serious allegation that Mr. Datta made. Let's talk about that now. So, the first aspect we've discussed, which is the big question of how the incident went down on Saturday. The other aspect, obviously, here is the continuing allegation the TMC is making again and again, and they've made this through the day today, that a senior BJP leader, Jitendra Tiwari, was involved in giving some kind of bribe. They're saying that a letter of some kind, an envelope of some kind was handed over to the NIA SP Dhanram Singh. They're also saying, and Mr. Datta, come in and correct me if I'm wrong here, but they're also saying they have CCTV visuals of this, which they will shortly release.
I will make a comment where Shatarupa ji can, explain and elaborate.
Go ahead.
So as we have issued picture of the visitor logbook and the leasehold where this sir is staying in Nagarat. In his flat number J066 at 6:30 p.m. Jitendra Tiwari, who's a BJP leader, inside by finding the large parcel envelope, large white parcel. He had a meeting at the residence, not at the NIA office or anywhere, any place official, at the residence of this SP rank officer Dhanram Singh for 52 minutes. When he was leaving the apartment, he was empty-handed. We don't know what was inside the parcel. That is what we presume. We want an investigation.
And Mr. Datta, can I? I'm not stopping you, sir. Your connection is very hard. So I do need to. I need to clarify what you're saying. That's it, sir. You're saying that there are CCTV visuals of this, but you haven't yet released those to the public. You're saying you will?
Yes. And in the meantime, what we have done, I will tell you that. In the meantime, we have already complained in writing to the Election Commission.
Okay.
We are moving Supreme Court we have asked the West Bengal authorities to investigate this thoroughly. Now what the DGP sir said, and I completely agree with you, that the NIA informed the local police there. It is on record, like former DGP said, that the time was 6 a.m. But instead, it is again on record, they raided at 4 a.m. And 6 a.m. when they were coming back, after they conducted the raid, they arrest the so-called accused or whatever, and they were coming back. When this attack or the stone pelting or whatever happened, they called the local police for help. The call for help was made at 5:45 a.m. and the local police reached the spot at 6 a.m. within 15 minutes.
Okay.
By that time, these two people were already in the car of the NIA officials. So they made a mistake, but that is, like you said, two aspects. One, they barged into the houses of these villagers.
Okay, Mr. Datta, I have other panelists. I do need to go to them right now. Shweta is with us. She's a spokesperson. Dr. Shweta, I just want to reintroduce to our audiences. You're a spokesperson of the BJP. You've been waiting very, very patiently over the last few minutes. Ma'am, I just want to take to you the same question I was asking you a few minutes before. The TMC claims that they have visual evidence of this taking place. Until we see that evidence, obviously we can't comment. But if we are to take what they say on face value, ma'am, we know that when the TMC says this, they are one among a number of opposition parties. If you just study who the ED has done probes against between 2014 and 2022, 95% of those are opposition leaders. Sometimes the BJP says, look at what the Congress did before. But the numbers have definitely increased. There's no aspect, this allegation of corruption. First time we're hearing the TMC say that they actually have visuals of this. Ma'am, has the BJP done an investigation of any kind over the last few hours within their own state party unit after these allegations were made?
Well, before I respond to your question, please allow me, because it's been quite a long day for me, and I must thank Riju for providing this fantastic level of entertainment. I mean, he's been claiming that we are playing IPL with our four major players. He has now blown out of proportion an almost detective movie, which was really wonderful to at least listen in an audio, if not the visual part. I mean, I have watched in a previous channel the visual part, but it's extremely entertaining, Toya, because they've given into so much of detail, and I completely understand where the detail is coming from, because Jitendra Tiwari was part of their party. So, I mean, they're now going haywire with that. Let them please continue providing even more details. And they've already said that they're going to court and they've gone to ECI. So, really, we have nothing to say about this. Having said that, now, since there's one thing that he's keeping on mentioning, that the NIA was seeking help from the police. Now, please look at the visuals. Compare this with what happened in Sandesh Khali. There are women CRPF personnel. So NIA was fully aware of the pattern of attacks that these so-called sporadic, spontaneous attack that comes from Bengal public. This is so unfortunate. The same tendency of stone pelting and holding lathis, putting women in front, which is so humiliating for women and for Bengal. I mean, being a Bengali, I feel very bad that Bengal gets raised to national media level because of these ridiculous incidents. Okay, now coming to your question. No, I don't think we have felt it necessary to go and inquire about Jitendra Tiwari, but maybe somebody will talk to him, or maybe he has already spoken to Central. We don't feel it's very important. And as far as your last question, your primary question is concerned, that the central agencies go after the opposition people, well, you have to agree that there has to be some seriousness in this accusation, because you have a whole India alliance formed on the basis of why are the central agencies attacking them. So I'm sure BJP doesn't need to respond. India alliance have been formed on this whole ideology, if I may call it, that central agencies are after their blood and nobody else's.
Okay.
So,
Dr. Shweta, I'd also like to thank Riju Datta and Mr. Singh. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking out time tonight. All right, with that, we are drawing our show to a close. The second such incident to take place in West Bengal since January. Elections nearing. The state, remember we told you, the third most important in terms of seats it brings to the table. So you'll continue hearing about West Bengal over the next few days too. For now, though, thank you for joining us and have a good night.
כן, כן. כן. 2 דקות אנחנו נתחיל תקשורת.
אבל אנה רחוק, צריך להקים אותה. היא מחזיקה מיקרופון ליד הרמקול.
Today we got a very bad message about Elad Katzir. He was hostage for 3 months. He could handle 3 months and then they killed him. We don't know what about all the rest. This is the time, not a day more. This is the time to bring them back. All of them as soon as possible. We have to bring them back home.
134 חטופים, ילדים, נשים, קשישים, צעירים. אנו דורשים...
אבל לפניהם דרך ארוכה וקשה של שיקום. הם לא יוכלו להשתקם בלי שאבא שלהם, עופר, יהיה פה.
תפקידי האזרחי בצורה הטובה ביותר. אלעד, סליחה, אלעד, סליחה. מתן, לא שמרת עליו, לא שמרת עליו לסרבן.
Welcome, you're watching World 360 with me, Akanksha Swaroop. Now, Taiwan is shaken but remains resilient as its biggest quake in 25 years has spotlighted the island nation's preparedness and lessons learnt. This week, Katchatheevu, a tiny island in the waters of Indian Ocean, has also become a bone of contention for New Delhi and Colombo. Interestingly, the Indira Gandhi-led Indian government had ceded the island to Sri Lanka 50 years ago. But now, will questioning Katchatheevu agreement damage ties and credibility that India and Sri Lanka share? Also, a phone call from US President Joe Biden to Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu has ensured that Israel opens its northern border for aid to Gaza. But can the US President help Israel and Hamas to arrive upon a deal? We'll deep dive into all of that, but first up are the headlines. Taiwan's quake, the biggest in 25 years, spotlights preparedness and lessons learned. Israel to allow temporary aid deliveries via its northern border with the Gaza Strip, hours after the US President tells Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu that it must protect civilians if it wants US support. During a phone call, Joe Biden also told Netanyahu to empower his negotiators to conclude a deal without delay. As tensions with Iran increase, Israel remains on high alert with GPS disabled and IDF leave cancelled over Iran's missile retaliation threat. And Myanmar's opposition claims a rare mass drone attack on the country's embattled junta government in the heavily guarded capital, Naypyidaw. The Thursday morning's attack on the capital marks another bold and rare incursion by the resistance groups who are mounting an increasingly effective opposition to the junta. Let's begin with the most important story this week, Taiwan. Taiwanese rescuers searched for 18 people still missing till Friday after a 7.2 magnitude earthquake struck the island's mountainous and scenic east coast earlier in the week. Dozens of aftershocks have rattled the disaster zone, but those cut off and unable to leave are gradually being taken to safety. Around 50 aftershocks rattled Hualien overnight, some felt in the capital Taipei as well. Wednesday's earthquake in Taiwan's sparsely populated eastern county of Hualien killed 10 people, leaving hundreds of people stranded in a national park as boulders barreled down mountains, cutting off roads. Rescuers have raced against time to help people out of a collapsed building in Taiwan's Hualien on Wednesday after a 7.2 magnitude earthquake that rocked the island.
Taiwan's residents are no strangers to earthquakes, but Wednesday's 7.2 magnitude tremor was the island's strongest in 25 years. Despite its force, recent quakes have left officials well practiced when it comes to their responses. The earthquake hit around 8 a.m, just as school and work were beginning for the day in the rural eastern county of Hualien. Within 2 hours, officials said an emergency shelter was arranged, where more than 130 residents ended up spending the night. Previous catastrophic quakes in 1999 and 2016 left more than 2,000 dead in Taiwan. That 1999 quake, commonly referred to as the 921 quake, as it hit on September 21st, was a spur for the government to revise building codes and strengthen disaster management laws. September 21st is now a designated day for Taiwan-wide disaster drills. Since another earthquake in 2018, local authorities have strengthened coordination with government units and NGOs for disaster response and relief. Taiwan has another reason to ready its response, the potential attack from China, which has been ramping up military and political pressure to try to force Taiwan's democratically elected government to give in to Beijing's sovereignty claims. The earthquake alert system, with its piercing alarm sounding on mobile phones, is the same one the government would use to warn of an impending Chinese air raid. Taiwanese cities and counties have rescuers on standby 24 hours a day, ready to respond almost at a moment's notice to disasters. So this time, county officials and police, along with other units who helped evacuate residents in affected areas of downtown Hualien, worked together to clear one of the damaged buildings before it could collapse in any aftershocks. Linda Chen and her family returned to their apartment building on Thursday. They were forced to move here after their previous home was damaged in the 2018 earthquake. Now they believe this apartment too has become too dangerous to live in.
I don't want to look for such high apartments anymore. I just don't want to look for a tall building anymore, but for a house that can be structurally stable. And then this time also gave me a reminder how to find apartment layouts that are not easily damaged in the event of an earthquake. I probably have some ideas now. I have some experience now.
Now, the political row over Katchatheevu, the tiny island just ahead of India's general election, continues to peak. Sri Lankan Foreign Minister has now reacted on this entire controversy, saying that the issue was resolved 50 years ago between India and Sri Lanka and that there is no need to discuss it again. Since 1921, both India and Sri Lanka had staked claim to fishing rights in these waters around Katchatheevu. But in 1974, a pact was signed between then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi and her Lankan counterpart Srimavu Bandaranaike, ceding the island to the latter.
පාලන මතවාදයක් ඇති කරගෙන යන්නේ ඒක කොහෙදවත් කවුරුවක්වත් කච්චතීවු නැවත පවරා ගැනීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් කතා කරලා නැහැ. අපේ අදහස වන්නේ මේක අවුරුදු 50කට ඉස්සෙල්ලා සාකච්ඡා කරලා විසඳපු ප්‍රශ්නයක්. ඒ පිළිබඳව නැවත සාකච්ඡාවක් අවශ්‍යත් නැහැ. මම හිතන්නේ පැන නැගී කියලා.
Well, that was the Sri Lankan Foreign Minister's reaction, but there's a security, economic and even cultural paradigm that cannot be ignored in this entire controversy. While the scale of the island may not be as important, its location is extremely key. Katchatheevu Island is located in the Pak Strait between India and Sri Lanka. The island has been a point of contention in the region's geopolitics given Sri Lanka's recent proximity to China. Also, according to reports, recently the Lankan government reportedly leased land around Delft Island and Katchatheevu to Chinese power companies. Katchatheevu has the potential to serve as a site for naval activities to counter the increasing Chinese presence. Also, many Indian fishermen's livelihoods depend on access to the waters around Katchatheevu, and ambiguity around the agreement has already led to the arrest of many fishermen and confiscation of their equipment by the Sri Lankan Navy. Now, Katchatheevu Island holds cultural and religious significance for people in India and Sri Lanka as well. It is home to St. Anthony's Shrine, which is an important religious site for pilgrims from both the countries. Now, let's also look at Katchatheevu Island's history, how important it is. In the medieval period, it was controlled by Jaffna Kingdom of Sri Lanka. At the same time, in the 17th century, the control was passed on to Ramnath Kingdom of India. The island became part of the Madras Presidency during the British rule. Now, in 1921, both India and Sri Lanka claimed right on Katchatheevu. At the same time, a survey marked Katchatheevu in Sri Lanka. Now, British delegation from India had challenged this survey, but the dispute was not settled, mind you, until the year 1974. And that is when the Indira Gandhi government was in power. Also, in an exclusive chat between Rajnath Singh, India's Defence Minister, and Network 18 Group Editor-in-Chief, Mr. Rahul Joshi, the Defence Minister has reacted to the Katchatheevu controversy, saying that the opposition in India, namely the Grand Old Party or the Congress, cannot deny history and its dismal foreign policy record. On the Arunachal question, the minister has sent a message to China saying Arunachal was and is an integral part of Bharat. Listen in.
इस बार आप लोगों ने एक और मुद्दा उठाया है इलेक्शन के जस्ट पहले, वो है कच्छाथीवू का मुद्दा कि ये जो है एक टापू था, एक जो कांग्रेस की सरकारों ने जो है श्रीलंका को दे दिया। श्रीलंका ने अभी बयान जारी किया है कि ये तो 50 साल पुरानी बात है, आज इसको क्यों उठाया जा रहा है? ये तो तब 50 साल पहले सेटल हो चुकी है।
लेकिन स्वीकार तो किया ना कि ये 50 साल पुरानी बात है, लेकिन ये हुई थी, इसमें सच्चाई है
जी। पर इसको इस चुनाव के पहले उठाने का क्या, पहले उठा सकते थे?
अरे भाई सही बात, सच्ची बात, यदि कभी आ जाए, चुनाव के समय आ जाए तो चुनाव के पहले आ जाए, उस पर क्यों आपत्ति होनी चाहिए? क्या कोई इसे नकार सकता है कि हमारे प्रधानमंत्री ने जो ये बात कही है कच्चाथीवू के बारे में वो गलत है, निराधार है? कोई आरोप लगा सकता है? स्वीकार तो सब कर रहे हैं ना कि हाँ हुआ
जी,
आज नहीं हुआ, 50 साल पहले हुआ, लेकिन हुआ।
ऑपोजिशन का कहना है कि इस तरह की चीज़ों को बार बार उठाना, कोई मुद्दों को पकड़ना, असली मुद्दों से जनता को भटकाना है। हाँ, जहाँ असली प्रॉब्लम है, जैसे कि चाइना जो कि कह रहा है कि अरुणाचल प्रदेश हमारा अभिन्न अंग है, उसने अपने जो है 30 नाम भी दे दिए हैं अरुणाचल प्रदेश के अंदर। हाँ, तो इसके बारे में क्या कहेंगे?
देखिए, विपक्ष को अपने गिरबान में झांकना चाहिए, उन्हें हमारी चिंता नहीं करनी चाहिए हमको क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना है। जो करना चाहिए, जो उचित है, वही हम लोग कर रहे हैं।
पर चाइना पर खास करके जो चाइना की मिलिट्री ने पहले बोला, अभी भी जो है उनके बयान बराबर आ रहे हैं। इन बयानों को आप कैसे देखते हैं कि अरुणाचल प्रदेश के बारे में जो बयान खास करके आ रहे हैं?
का था, भारत का है और भारत का रहेगा,
और उसके लिए हमें जो भी करना पड़े हम करेंगे।
बिल्कुल
जी। तो इस पे कोई सॉफ्ट पेडलिंग और ये इशू
प्रश्न नहीं खड़ा होता।
Also, The Guardian has made some stunning revelations claiming that at least 20 Pakistan-based terrorists may have been eliminated by India inside Pakistan since the year 2019. This as per The Guardian investigation based on dossiers from Pakistan's intelligence officials and corroborated by Indian officials. This has been India's anti-terror policy since the Pulwama terror attack. Well, this is what The Guardian investigation claims. As per The Guardian, the first to be targeted was Zahur Mistry, and accused in the 1999 Air India hijack. Union Minister Rajnath Singh who's also the Defence Minister of India. While speaking to News 18 Group Editor-in-Chief, Mr. Rahul Joshi reiterated Prime Minister Modi's assertion as well, stating that anyone who tries to disturb India's peace will get a befitting response. Listen in.
कल ही जो है गार्डियन, फॉरेन पब्लिकेशन है गार्डियन, उसमें एक आर्टिकल आया है। उसमें कहा है, उस आर्टिकल ने कहा है कि जो है भारत ने पाकिस्तान की धरती में 20 लोगों को 20 जाके मारा है। और जो है इस पर तमाम क्या कहते हैं, उन्होंने बहुत रिसर्च की है, बहुत लोगों से बात की है। ये पहले हम लोगों के बारे में कनाडा में भी बोला गया, यूएस में भी ये चर्चा हुई पहले, पर पाकिस्तान की ये नई चर्चा है, 20 लोग। तो इसको आप कैसे देखते हैं कि ये क्या, उस आर्टिकल में ये भी कहा है कि जो है भारत जो है केजीबी और मुसाद से जो है काफ़ी इन्फ्लुएंस्ड है, तो उनकी भी जो इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसी है, रॉ वगैरह इस तरीके का काम कर रही हैं। कोई स्लीपर सेल है यूएई में, उसने जो है इसमें उसका रोल रहा है। और 20 लोगों को, मतलब एक आध लोग नहीं, 20 टेररिस्ट को जो है हमने कुछ सालों में मारा है।
20 टेररिस्ट को मारा है?
हाँ जी, मतलब टेररिस्ट कह लीजिए, लोगों कह लीजिए, पर वहाँ उनकी धरती में मारा है।
कोई भी टेररिस्ट हमारे पड़ोसी देश है, यदि भारत को डिस्टर्ब करने की कोशिश करेगा
जी,
यहाँ पर यदि आतंकवादी हरकतें करेगा तो उसका मुंह तोड़ जवाब देंगे। यदि वो भगकर पाकिस्तान में जाएगा तो पाकिस्तान में घुस कर मारेंगे।
तो ये बात आप मतलब कह रहे हैं, जो प्रधानमंत्री भी कह रहे हैं कि अब वो भारत नहीं रहा जो कि बगल में खड़े होकर तमाशा देखता रहेगा, घर में घुस कर मारेगा।
बिल्कुल, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जो कहा है बिल्कुल सच कहा है, और यह ताकत है भारत की, और पाकिस्तान भी इसे समझने लगा है। वैसे भारत बराबर अपने पड़ोसी देशों के साथ अच्छे रिश्ते बनाकर रखना चाहता है, चाहे कोई भी हमारा पड़ोसी देश है। और आज देखा होगा आपने, पास्ट हिस्ट्री उठाकर देखिए कि आज तक न तो हमने दुनिया के किसी देश पर कभी आक्रमण किया है अथवा आक्रमण की कोई पहल की हो, कभी नहीं किया, और न तो दुनिया के किसी देश की 1 इंच जमीन पर हम लोगों ने कभी कब्जा करने की कोशिश की है। यह भारत का चरित्र रहा है
जी।
लेकिन भारत को बार बार कोई आंख दिखाएगा, भारत में आकर आतंकवादी गतिविधियों को बढ़ावा कर देने की कोशिश करेगा, तो उसकी खैर नहीं है।
Interestingly, while addressing the Shanghai Cooperation Organization or the SCO meet in Kazakhstan's Astana on Wednesday, it highlighted the menace of cross-border terrorism, and NSA Doval also said that it is not justified. India's National Security Advisor, Mr. Doval, further said that perpetrators of terrorism should be effectively and expeditiously dealt with, including those involved in cross-border terrorism. He also highlighted the need to shun double standards and hold accountable sponsors, financiers and facilitators of terrorism. He raised the issue of continued threat that has been posed by various terror groups in the SCO region, including those designated by the UNSC. That is, of course, the Al-Qaeda and its affiliates, ISIS and Lashkar-e-Taiba, even Jaish-e-Mohammed. Now, for the first time since the October 7 attacks, the Israeli government has approved reopening 3 corridors to ensure better transfer of aid to Gaza. This comes hours after the Biden-Netanyahu chat. Meanwhile, celebrity chef Jose Andres told Reuters in an interview on Wednesday that an Israeli attack had killed 7 of his food aid workers in Gaza. Listen.
They were targeted systematically, car by car.
Celebrity chef Jose Andres told Reuters in an emotional interview on Wednesday that the Israeli airstrike that killed 7 of his World Central Kitchen aid workers in Gaza had been deliberately targeted, and he rejected Israeli and U.S. assertions that it was a mistake.
This was not just a bad luck situation where, we dropped the bomb in the wrong place, or no. This was over 1.5, 1.8 kilometers with a very defined humanitarian convoy that had signs in the top, in the roof, a very colorful logo that we are obviously very proud of, but that's very clear who we are and what we do.
Andres said his charity group had clear communication with the Israeli military, which he said was aware of the convoy's whereabouts, and he called for investigations by the U.S. government in the home countries of every aid worker that was killed in the attack.
If we were targeted this way, I need to understand that this was no vicious. I need to understand that this was not by somebody that is above law and order. that decided just to kill us because, I don't know, maybe because I did a tweet that was very strong against President Netanyahu. I don't know. Obviously, that's why we need to have an investigation that is neutral and is above IDF. But what I know is that we were targeted deliberately, non-stop, until everybody was dead in this convoy.
The aid workers were killed when their convoy was hit shortly after they oversaw the unloading of 100 tons of food brought to Gaza by sea. Israel's military expressed, quote, severe sorrow over the incident, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called it unintentional. A U.S. official said President Joe Biden, who spoke to Andres on Tuesday, will speak by phone to Netanyahu on Thursday. The White House has described Biden as outraged by the attack, but the president has made no fundamental change in support for Israel in its war in Gaza. Meanwhile, the State Department said the U.S. wants a swift Israeli investigation into the incident. Here's State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller.
It doesn't really matter how they made the mistake. At the end of the day, you have 7 dead aid workers who were there trying to deliver humanitarian assistance. So whatever the reason was that led to this tragedy, whatever the mistake that happened inside the IDF, it's unacceptable.
Andres said his organization was still studying the safety situation in Gaza as it considers starting aid deliveries again. He also condemned the war in Gaza as a whole, noting that at least 196 humanitarian workers have been killed there since October, according to the United Nations.
At the time, this looks like it's not a war against terrorism anymore. Seems this is a war against humanity itself. You cannot be fighting the basis of what humanity should be standing for.
Now, Israel's protesters continue to gather outside the house of ultra-Orthodox Israeli Minister Aryeh Deri in Jerusalem earlier this week, demanding an end to military exemption granted to ultra-Orthodox Jews. Here's a report.
In Israel, some ultra-Orthodox Jewish men are staging protests, angry at attempts to remove exemptions of religious students from military service. In a time of war, the issue is dividing Israelis, and it's even threatening the stability of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition. Let's take a closer look. The ultra-Orthodox Haredi community has been exempt from military service since the founding of Israel in 1948. The country's Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion, exempted about 400 students from military duty so they could devote themselves to religious study. Ben-Gurion had hoped to keep alive sacred knowledge and traditions almost wiped out in the Holocaust. Since then, the ultra-Orthodox Jews have gone from being a tiny minority to making up more than 13% of the country's population. Haredi men often live in heavily Orthodox neighborhoods and devote their lives to religious study. Some do serve in the army, but most do not. Many Haredi men do not work, but live off donations, state benefits, and the often modest wages of their wives, many of whom do work. The military exemptions have long bred resentment from secular Israelis, whose taxes subsidize the Haredim, and who are themselves obliged to serve in the military. This resentment has only grown since the start of the war in Gaza. Many Israelis regard the war against Hamas as an existential battle for the future of the country. Opinion polls indicate very broad public support for removing the exemptions. Former deputy head of Israel's National Security Council, Eran Etzion.
We are at war, we need every soldier, and the days of disavowing their responsibility are over.
On the other hand, ultra-Orthodox Jewish parties are resisting pressure to lift the exemptions.
They want us to go to the Israeli army. For that it means to us, they don't want us to be religious. Therefore, we prefer to die and not to go to the army.
For Netanyahu, the stakes are high. His coalition includes 2 Haredi parties who want to keep exemptions for their communities. Their departure could trigger new elections, which opinion polls indicate Netanyahu would lose. On the other hand, Netanyahu's own defense minister, Yoav Gallant, and his allies want a far broader conscription law. The Supreme Court has given the government time until April 30th to reach a solution acceptable to both its religious and secular members.
We will determine goals for the drafting of ultra-Orthodox men to the IDF and National Civil Service. We can reach that agreement without dividing the nation and without incitement against any members of the public.
Also, a slew of countries and organizations, including the United Nations, on Tuesday deplored the deadly Israeli attack on the Iranian consulate building in Syria. The Syrian Defense Ministry reported that on Monday, Israeli forces had carried out a missile strike from the direction of the occupied Syrian Golan Heights, targeting the Iranian embassy's consulate building in Damascus. The Syrian Health Ministry has reported on Tuesday that 4 Syrians were killed and 13 others were injured in this attack, while the Iranian side has confirmed the deaths of 7 Iranians, including 2 commanders as well.
The Secretary General condemns the attack on diplomatic premises of the Islamic Republic of Iran in Damascus, as well as the reported casualties. He further calls on all concerned to exercise the utmost restraint and avoid any further escalation. He cautions that any miscalculation could lead to a broader conflict in an already volatile region with devastating consequences for civilians who already are seeing unprecedented suffering in Syria, in Lebanon.
Myanmar's military-ruled capital of Naypyidaw was attacked by drones on Thursday. We'll tell you all about this attack, but after a quick break.
כן, כן, כן. 2 דקות אנחנו נתחיל תקשורת.
אבל אנא רחוק, צריך להקים אותה. היא מחזיקה מיקרופון ליד הרמקול.
Today we got a very bad message about Elad Katzir. He was hostage for 3 months. He could handle 3 months and then they killed him. We don't know what about all the rest. This is the time, not a day more. This is the time to bring them back. All of them as soon as possible. We have to bring them back home.
134 חטופים, ילדים, נשים, קשישים, צעירים. אנו דורשים...
אבל לפניהם דרך ארוכה וקשה של שיקום. הם לא יוכלו להשתקם בלי שאבא שלהם, עופר, יהיה פה.
תפקידי האזרחי בצורה הטובה ביותר. אלעד, סליחה, אלעד, סליחה. מתן, לא שמרת עליו, לא שמרת על 1,400.
Welcome back. You're watching World 360. Now, 13 fixed wing drones were shot down over the capital of military-ruled Myanmar on Thursday in a foiled attack by terrorists seeking to destroy important locations in the city. And the city, as we all know, is also military-run. At the same time, of the 13 drones, 4 carried explosives, but no damage or casualties were inflicted. It's also been reported that there's been no mention what in terms of targets were, but carried an image showing 9 small drones, several of which were damaged. Myanmar's shadow government and an anti-junta militia group have earlier claimed responsibility for what they said was a synchronized, coordinated attack on the military headquarters and an Air Force base. The MRTV report has mentioned that the same locations, but did not say that they were military facilities at the same time. And it's time to end this show on a heartwarming note. Amid tears and rain, a poignant scene unfolded at a South Korean amusement park as a cherished giant panda, Fu Bao, prepared to depart for China's Sichuan province. In fact, Fu Bao's parents, 10-year-old female A Bao and 11-year-old male Le Bao, arrived in 2016 from Sichuan province, the home of the giant pandas. Of course, the gesture was part of China's panda diplomacy, but Fu Bao was born in South Korea's Everland theme park in 2020. He also captured the hearts of many. The truck had a big picture of Fu Bao and a message thanking her for the time they spent together. I leave you with these very warm visuals. Thank you so much for watching World 360.
כן, כן. 2 דקות אנחנו נתחיל תקשורת.
אבל אנא רחוק, צריך להקים אותה. היא מחזיקה מיקרופון ליד הרמקול.
Today we got a very bad message about Elad Katzir. He was hostage for 3 months. He could handle 3 months and then they killed him. We don't know what about all the rest. This is the time, not a day more. This is the time to bring them back. All of them as soon as possible. We have to bring them back home.
134 חטופים, ילדים, נשים, קשישים, צעירים. אנו דורשים...
אבל לפניהם דרך ארוכה וקשה של שיקום. הם לא יוכלו להשתקם בלי שאבא שלהם, עופר, יהיה פה.
תפקידי האזרחי בצורה הטובה ביותר.
Wayanad, which is predominantly a rural constituency known for its scenic beauty and rich biodiversity, is once again in national attention after Congress decided to field Rahul Gandhi for the second time from its stronghold.